Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Smoking Standard. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve. It's my partner, Zach, and we have the very distinct privilege of being able to be at Patriot Cigars in Calabash, North Carolina. With in the middle, we have Andy, the owner. To his left, we have his son, Connor. And to his right, my left, we have Paul, who is the acquisition and managing partner for Patriot Cigars. Before we dive into today's episode, I would like to encourage you all to please go check out the YouTube channel, The Smoking Standard. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Please leave comments and share with anybody that you think will enjoy it. We greatly appreciate everyone's support, and that's what really helps make this channel grow. And continuing to get feedback from you all is how Zach and I could continue to make this content better. So starting off today, Andy, here we are at Patriot Cigars in Calabash, North Carolina. Question number one to you is, how did you decide that you were going to take your cigar journey and turn it into a business?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you guys for being down. Having the smoking standard here is phenomenal. We are so excited to have you guys, host you guys, smoke a great cigar with you guys. Um, that question is not an easy one to answer. I smoked my first cigar when I was 15 years old. It's been a long time since I was 15. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had it with a Pabst Blue Ribbon, and I've been smoking cigars ever since. Um, it's for me, smoking a cigar causes a window where I can stop, relax, hang out with great friends, be myself, and just really enjoy. Whether it's an hour smoke, a 2 hour smoke, it just slows the world down, if that
Agreed.
makes any sense,
Absolutely makes sense.
you know. And
So
oh,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but on that note, it kind of makes sense because when you drive around Calabash, this isn't a really fast paced place. So not only can you come into Patriot Cigars, have that cigar, slow down with some friends. And again, you're super accessible as an owner. You're always on the property. But Calabash life isn't exactly moving that fast anyway. So when you started a brick and mortar here, like kind of talk us through that real quick about how Calabash came to be the spot you landed for your brick and mortar cigar dream.
I've been living in Brunswick County for probably the last, I'd say approximately 30 years. And I had a bucket list of jobs that I wanted to do. And this was always at the top, but life happens. And I and Connor had been talking about having a cigar bar for years. Um, my wife, Chrissy, she'll tell you I started collecting ashtrays probably 15, 16 years ago with the hope of eventually having a place. And I and Connor was actually going to South Carolina en route to buy some cigars, and we saw the owner of the property putting up a for lease sign. And one of the things that we had talked about was to do this on how we wanted to do it. We wanted a standalone business where we wouldn't intrude on other people, and we wanted a courtyard. And we saw the for lease sign, and it was like, uh-oh, could this be it? The light bulb comes on. Some negotiations later, some conversations later, we signed our lease, and it was and I know this is overused, but for us, a dream come true. Um, and I think even though cigars have been around for longer than anybody can remember, it's still a really exciting time to be in it. You've got so many new companies, so many new minds, and some of the support that we've received in the industry has been incredible. It is a giant family. Some of the owners and reps of the cigar companies, they don't push the product. Their question is, how do you grow? What can we do for you? So when we got this building, everything just began to fall in place because, to be honest with you, we've been looking for a building for 3 years. Standalone property is a unicorn. I don't care what part of the state you're in. And everything just fell into place. And I knew there was a cigar culture here in Brunswick County, but I did not know we had a cigar culture. And basically, like the Field of Dreams, if we build it, they will come. And they have. And Paulie, here to my right, I met him on the second day, and it was like we should have always been together. And it just went from there. I got lots of help. My son, who's a lot more patient than I am, kept me grounded. Paulie's kept me grounded. And for us, it wasn't about just filling the shelves. It was about going slow and filling the shelves correctly. And I'll give a shout out to both our regulars and our tourists because they have really come. We've embraced it. We've had some cigar events that, on average, we average over 150 people. We had another bourbon dinner last night, sold out. So it's just been a fun, exciting time to grow with so many people here. And what makes it even better is we'll sit around, have a cigar, and talk about as a community what's the next box they'd like to see. I'd like to say I was a brainchild of that, but Paulie was the brainchild of that. And my son just, I didn't want him to say anything, but you're going to probably ask him how he got into cigars. Well, he got into cigars probably as a 1 or 2 year old with my windows cracked this much driving on trips.
They weren't cracked.
So, it's such a, and I know this is a very long answer for a question, but it's been a journey and it's been a 40+ year journey. But I have been blessed to surround myself with people that give great advice. And even when we don't go that route, they don't get upset because it still is working. And 99% of what we're told as a team, we listen to. And because of that, we have, I think, some of the best brands out there, some of the best up and coming brands out here. I mean, we're smoking this Shaggy Foot by George Rico at Gran Habano, one of the best cigars ever. And that's what we're trying to bring to the folks out here, the best cigars on the market.
And when you talk about how you're receptive to the input of the clientele, and not only now you have Connor and Paulie providing input on the day to day, working with you. I think that really is the same way that Zach and I operate and how we even came together as well. So Zach and I have talked about it a ton of times, and we're going to continue to talk about it because that's why this project exists. Community. And we're all sitting around right now from all walks of life, from all parts of the country, which we'll get into to the Yankee up here, to Paul from the north, over a cigar and sharing our dreams really as they pertain to cigars. Because I know when Zach and I came down here to visit you, we just did an impromptu. We just rolled in one day, didn't tell you we were coming. And we sat back there in what we've kind of affectionately called the man cave in your cigar lounge and talked with you and Connor. And next thing you know, you're mentoring us on some of our dreams about we would like to own a cigar lounge, and you're giving us this business advice. And we're like, okay, well, we didn't think about that. And, we're taking little mental notes, and we talked about it on the 2 hours all the way home. And again, that's for me, it continually goes back to being able to sit down with people. And my mantra is, if you want to be successful, you got to surround yourself with successful people.
And that's what we believe. And I want to give lots of credit where credit's due. 80% of what we've brought in, and we continue to grow. We put our second walk-in humidor in about 2 months ago. 80% of what's in there comes from Connor, Paulie, and a lot of the guys that come in here, because cigars are a business, but they have to be a passion. And we have a lot of guys who are passionate about the cigars. That's why we were so excited for you guys to come in, because when you showed up that day, you could tell you had energy. There was a passion. And that's why I've wanted this for so many years. But with big dreams, you got to be patient. And that, as long as you have that passion, you can make anything happen. And in cigars, you have to have a passion, because it's just phenomenal how they bring community together. Um, and we have all kinds of folks that come in here from every job you can imagine, both still on the job, still working. And we want folks to come in here, be able to, I know safe space, that word has been hijacked and overused, but when you come in here, it feels like a den. We want to treat you like family. We're not, we have a cigar in there for everybody, regardless of their price point, because we want everybody to come in here and be able to enjoy the vibe and know they can say something, and know they can talk about anything from what's going on at home with maybe a bill that they can't pay and how to pay it, all the way to, hey, my daughter's having her second or third child. We celebrate it. So that's what we want here, and this is what cigars do.
It is. And I mean, cigars they were born out of passion. I mean, let's face it, and there could be a very, very strong argument made with, yes, there's always going to be this debate, legacy versus, now we've rebranded as an industry, boutique to independence. And that thing is catching on. There's some traction now. Okay, fine. But the bottom line is that these families, however, whether it's a Fuente, a Padron, Pepin, or it's Matt Booth, it's you know the Crown Heads, or it's the Baredas, or take your real pick, Noe FDZ, Aremios, like those people started it because of the passion as well. But just like those of us that have been in the service, we're also walking in footsteps that were laid prior 2 hours.
Boom.
And the cigar industry is no different.
That's it.
Yep.
You nailed it right there. That's it. The atmosphere you want to create, and when you talk about what's the atmosphere you want to create here, what you're looking to create here is a lounge for guys that believe that this is my lounge.
Right.
Andy's the owner, but this is my lounge. This is the lounge I represent. I smoke here. I have a say here. So you give them a chance to have a say. So when guys come in and they suggest a cigar, you talk about, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Why would you like to see it here? So you want the people that come to your lounge to feel like when they go somewhere else, where do you smoke? They're proud to say, I smoke at Patriot. That's my lounge.
Mhm.
You know, I represent that lounge. I wish my lounge carried it. Everybody here has a say. Now, sometimes do we run on everything? No, it depends. We do our homework. But you want the people to feel like they're a part of something. There's nothing more, especially men, want to feel like we're a part of something. That's my lounge. These are my guys. I come here, I'm home. There's nothing I can hide here. Everybody will listen. You want to create an atmosphere, and to be successful, if you listen to the people, they'll tell you exactly what they want and exactly what they need. And you can sit here, and it doesn't matter who's a doctor, who's a lawyer, who's a garbage man, who's a this. In that moment, nothing means anything but this. This is what we share in commonality, right? So in that moment, it doesn't really care what your political views are, what you feel. We're here to enjoy this. We're going to share conversation because we're in an age of social media. Used to be able to go to a doctor's office and strike up a conversation. Now it's this. Nobody looks up, nobody talks. The greatest icebreaker right here.
So it's funny you bring up the social media. We're going to put a pin in that for a hot second because Zach and I have actually been debating this off and on for quite a while now because I picked it up off social media. And I was like, hey, this thing's flying around. What do you think? So he and I, again, when we meet in my garage and the Smoking Standard headquarters, as we call it, we strike up those conversations as well. Real quick, I want to finish going around the room, though. So Connor, the son of the owner. Okay, we've found out now that you have been exposed to secondhand cigar smoke since birth.
27 years.
So naturally you were going to be involved in it. But for you personally, when was your turning point that you were going to take up cigar smoking? And now I have a common bond with my dad.
Oh. Maybe around 8 or 9 years old. I knew it was a hobby I was going to fall into eventually.
So just so we're clear, legality, he was not smoking cigars at 8 or 9 years old.
No, I think my old man would have been fine with that, but my mom never caught me with a lit cigar in my mouth. I don't think I'd be here today to talk with you guys. But I started in college, and after that, I fell into it. And like my dad said, when we were actually going to go pick up cigars, we saw the for lease sign, and as he so eloquently put it, we built it, and people came. So I've been around cigars all my life. It's been a passion of mine. My ability to pick cigars, to find cigars that people like to smoke, just comes from shopping for other people in that time frame.
So at 8 or 9, was it like artwork? Was it like a collection thing? Were you into like collecting car models or?
So at 8 or 9 years old, I think the labels always stood out to me. I mean, my dad was always very much I'd say a catalog smoker at the time. He'd find out one brand that he'd smoke for like a year, 2, 3 years at a time. He'd enjoy it. Occasionally, he'd get some cigars for like Christmas from some of his work buddies. But to me, it was always at 8 or 9 years old, I'm looking for the thing with the coolest name.
Yeah.
And that eventually branched into finding out what my dad liked to smoke, full body Maduros. Well, what's Maduro? What constitutes a full body cigar? Now, how can I find that full bodied cigar and find a really cool name to go with it to make it a cool gift? And from there, it just spread out. I mean, growing up, hobbies, I was never too big of a collector, but cigars was all. I guess looking at my humidor now, it's just a big collection of one-offs and two-offs of like limited release cigars that I've now just picked up and I put away for a special occasion. So it's just caught up with me, I suppose.
So what I also hear you saying is that even though you had your dad that had been smoking cigars for decades as you grew up, you still took it upon yourself to teach yourself, knowing if you really wanted to like open the book, he had it, but you were like, I'm going to learn this on my own. It's going to be my journey. And then now you and your dad have bonded over that because, to a certain extent, you can kind of, I don't want to say like you guys have equal knowledge, but you guys can compare notes now.
Absolutely. It was definitely, it's passion. And
Yeah.
if the passion isn't there, an individual's not going to go out in their own time to improve upon that knowledge or interest or work. And so for me, it was committing myself to doing reading, looking at, say, top 25 list, very entry level stuff before refining that knowledge into seeing what's in humidors, seeing what people like to smoke. Well, apparently at 8 or 9 years old, I was so surprised they made cigars in this lighter wrapper because I had only ever seen between my father and grandfather and the people he smoked with, they were always smoking Maduros. And to see Connecticut shade, to see, say, a Candela for the first time at that young age, I'm like, wow, seems like my dad's really missing out here. There's a ton of stuff out on the market. But everyone has their own interests, and that's another thing I've had to learn, selling to people, trying to find that right cigar for them, trying to find things adjacent. Because between the two walk-in humidors we have here, if for some reason we don't have a cigar we're looking for, I can absolutely find a cigar someone would be willing to smoke. So
Well, don't feel bad. I was 29 when I found out what a Candela was.
I was 54. So, and we'd already been combined. Like I said, Zach and I have got 30 years between us smoking cigars, and we literally did a podcast on a Candela because we had never smoked one before. We don't have a good answer for that. It's just something we never picked up. Amazing cigar. Now I spend money on Candelas.
Yeah.
So, Paul, your journey. But before we get to your journey, for our viewers out there, Zach and I actually stumbled on a twofer when we decided we were going to come to Patriot Cigars and do a podcast, because not only do we have Paul, who is the acquisition and managing partner, but this is also Uncle Paulie 66 on Instagram. So if you don't know, now you know. Go follow Uncle Paulie 66 on Instagram, because his content is built from this humidor, the two humidors in Patriot Cigars, and in working with Andy. You told me when we first connected that basically he's entrusted you for the most part with building the selection in the humidors.
Yeah, trying to help him, like, where do you start? Like, usually when a person opens a humidor, you get those starter kits.
Yeah.
And you got to try to give them something. First of all, you live in a demographic where you have mostly retirees and working people. So how do I satisfy both? The working man's living on an allowance, so to speak, you give your wife, and then you have the retirees on a fixed budget. And before Andy came here, you're living in a community that was pretty much catalog based. There's really not many places to go unless you go into South Carolina. So what you got to try to is build a humidor on what are they seeing, first of all. They're looking in the catalog. What are they seeing most of? Right? But you got to give them something that's economical, that smokes on a high premium side, that's affordable. You want to keep them smoking. So that you try to build a humidor. Well, let's give them what they want, but you're starting out. So how can we stay in that price range? And listen, at the end of the day, there really are no bad cigars. Everybody has a taste. Everybody has a like. So you look at the humidor and you look at the demographic. What are people smoking now? What are they smoking now? How can I build a humidor around a price point and still keep guys interested? There's a lot of cigar companies like Gran Habano's been around forever, but you go to Ohio, for instance, you walk into Creekside, say Gran Habano, you'll have 15 guys say, who is that? Like literally have no idea. So it all goes to like kind of where you are introducing stuff. Guys, this has been around a long time. And they're like, wow, I never knew that. And trying to put stuff in the humidor that guys hear about, but they never really get a chance to see. Keep the interest up. Like I tell Andy sometimes when we sit and we plan, I want to be, if you think about a road and the road starts to turn, I always want to be on the turn. So by the time we make the turn and people get to that turn, we're already past the turn.
Yep.
And we're into the next best thing, and we're keeping things. And sometimes that means bringing in a line or expanding on a line. Doesn't always have to be we're going to jump on the next best thing, And when Andy opened, I passed by and I was like, there's no place to smoke around here. So this is like, what, I'm going to try to help this guy out and get him going, because I need a lounge to go to.
100%.
I came from a place where there was a lounge on every other corner. From Nat Sherman, where Michael Hertlock started. Remember when he was young and he was there. And you go to, from there you go to the Monte Cristo. right? They have Monte Cristo there. They have all these lounges there, Barclay Rex, right? You have all these nostalgic places, and you think back to their humidors, right? More of heritage stuff. You know, you went into the 90s, you had that big boom, that boutique boom, and it kind of fell by the wayside and kind of went back to the boutiques. What I like about the fact that boutique companies, they made the heritage companies change their tune. You can't stop making cigars like your father anymore because, so it actually improved the game. Made Punch stop paying attention. Made Monte Cristo pay attention. Made all these other companies pay attention, because if we don't, you know, people they call these, a lot of these companies boutique. That's a cliche saying if you ask me. Everybody started like that. Torfuente at one time was boutique, if you want to say that. But
So we
yeah.
actually just had this conversation with Charles Oxidine. So you guys will get the full story on the next episode. But I guess there's been a big transition from calling them boutique companies now to calling them independents. So they stand alone, they make their own product, they may have a distributor, but they're not cast all the way across the market.
Right.
Not yet. And it's their choice to choose if they want to do that. But now it seems like it's more legacy and independent companies.
That even my Instagram, I try to bring to the forefront, like Juan does at Cigar Dojo, the smaller guy. The guy that he's not going to get that chance. And Andy's very fortunate. Andy will bring in a new company. We're going to give you a chance. If we think it's good enough and there's room in our humidor, we'll give you a shot. Because if you don't give that man a shot, what happens? And there's a lot of guys out there making great cigars. They're never going to get the presence. They're never going to get that recognition. Why? Because listen, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's the industry.
Well, and you know, as the saying goes, the high tide raises all the boats.
Right.
But who is to define what the high tide is? The high tide cannot only be a legacy brand.
Correct.
There's no reason that a boutique or an independent, however you want to phrase it nowadays, can be that high tide. And to your point, that's an excellent point, because in the spirit of competition, okay,
right,
yes, the competition is going to be whomever it is at that moment that is going to make me pay attention and rethink my game.
Exactly.
Rethink my methods, rethink some blending, go back to maybe some more traditional things, whatever the case may be. There's also the whole big thing going on out there in the World Wide Web and the internet and the industry now. Snob, what is a cigar snob versus, you know, just an appreciative smoker. And everybody's having that debate now, you know. But I think in that same spirit, anybody can walk into a lounge and start the self-proclaimed I'm the smartest person in the room bit. And they got their flex stick in their hand. But really, who's to say that what I'm smoking is not my flex stick for either my budget or my mood or whatever the case may be. So, you know, and again, that's, again, for me, cigars. Yeah, when I started out, what was I doing? I was sitting around a table with Zach, and I talk about this all the time. We were mentored by much older men smoking cigars.
Yes.
And so they're going to hand us this and they're going to hand us that. So we don't know what we don't know at that point.
Right.
But now that we've been in the game for, you know, decades now, and you understand what tobacco is and where it's grown and where the profiles, and then my palate now, what is my mouth like? Okay, now I can go out there and I can search out what I want and flex how I want to flex, if you will, and create my smoking experience.
Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody has, and it's sometimes it's according to price. When I first started smoking cigars, all I had sometimes as a young kid would be $25, and all I can afford at the time were Tiamos. But at the time, that is it what I wanted to smoke? No, but it's what I could afford, and that's what I smoked. But sometimes you'll have a guy say, "Well, I only smoke this." You know, what I think is what's happening in cigar smoking is everybody's a label smoker. Right? Everybody has a label they want. You see what they're smoking until you say, "Hey, I know you really like that, but have you tried this?" And they're like, "Well, I don't smoke that." I said, "Well, give it a shot. If you like Padron, you'll like this, or if you like this." And then there's some people that are receptive and not. So what I like to do is use my lounge time is, I have a buddy I smoke with, his name is Jason, and used to work for CI. And we'll talk about cigars, and I like to have other people here. and let them listen to the conversation. And it gives them a little bit of knowledge. Like, listen, you can find what you like. Like I tell guys, well, how do I start cigar smoking? Get yourself a cigar sampler. Kind of start there. You're a new smoker. Get a bunch of Connecticut's. Smoke your way through them. Get yourself an index card. Write down what you liked, what you don't. Save the label. And then slowly but surely as you do, well, I didn't like these. Well, what's in them that I didn't like? Look at the profile. And so, well, I didn't like any of that, but I kind of gravitated toward this. That's your start. We have a start now. That's where you start. You go into the lounge, you go, you explain to the gentleman, and then slowly but surely you talk to other guys in the lounge. I want you to love this as much as I do. I'm not going to tell you, nah, don't smoke that. I want you to love this as much as I do. What do you like to smoke? How can I help you? Even just sitting here. Sometimes, and Andy will tell you, I'll be in my, I say, have you ever tried this? No, here, it's on me. Try it. Or if they want to try a cigar in Andy's, go try that cigar. If you don't like it, tell Andy, I'll pay for it. Really, that's sure? I'll pay for it. Go. I want you to enjoy it. It. From what you're telling me, this is your palate. You're going to enjoy it, I promise you. Really? And then sure enough, you'll come in next time and they'll be like, okay. You know, it's just a matter of keeping an open mind when this comes. It's a journey. You got to find what you like. Nobody comes in and says automatically, give me a Pappy Van Winkle, let's rock and roll. No, it don't work that way.
You know, it's funny you say that because even Zach and I do that all the time. Every time he comes over to the house, I mean, I've got probably 600 plus cigars in my humidor. I'm like, hey man, I always send him home with something like, hey, try this, try this, try this.
What I try to tell people, don't be a one-dimensional smoker. You know, I know Andy loves Maduros, but every so often I'm like, hey, you know, let's try this. Because if he opened the cigar store and only brought in here what he liked, we'd make no money, right? So what you got to try to do is you got to cut. And sometimes you'll get a cigar and it don't jive for me. But what I do is I look at that cigar and I say, what was Steve trying to do when he made this? What audience was he trying to reach? Now it changes the game. It's not what I normally like, but I'm trying to think, he made this for a demographic. Who? Who is he trying to? And then it changes me smoking. I'm like, well, if he's making it for this, man, this ain't too bad. Yeah, this is really good.
100%.
And then now all of a sudden, it's not, I don't like this guy. Now I appreciate it. I'm going to smoke it a couple more times to really see. And then sometimes more than none, I'm like, boom, this is really good. For who he made it for, dynamite. Now we can speak life into somebody else that comes and say, try this. This is definitely your wheelhouse from what you're telling me. And that's what you try to do, really.
Well, you know, when Zach and I came down and met you and Connor for the first time, we actually got into that conversation. And I think where we finally, the ground that we decided was, for lack of a better term, the right answer, the accurate answer, was everybody's always going to have what they like and what they will spend a majority of their money on. But we've all been smoking cigars long enough, and to your point about the blend, we now can grab something that's not in our favorite palate sweet spot, but we can still appreciate the flavor profile, the body of the cigar,
Right.
even the strength a little bit. You know, perfect example. I smoked, I've recently discovered Crown Heads, been on a big Crown Heads kick. In fact, when we were here before, we were batting around like, hey, you know, what would be the one cigar that we would change if we bought a lounge, like what would be our thing? And you knew right away I was going to say Crown Heads because I love that profile. I smoked their TAA exclusive from this year, I believe it was. Habano, Ecuadorian Habano. I'm like, oh, I've smoked a ton of Ecuadorian Habanos. I'll tell you right now, you better strap it on because that thing had a little pop in it. And I was like, whoa. I got about halfway through that cigar and I'm like, okay, this is a little different now.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't, the brochure read a certain way, but from all the cigars I smoked, I'm like, okay, this is making me like sit up in the chair a little bit and be like, all right, I got to finish this thing. Like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
You know? And I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised because it's a cigar blend that got my attention.
Correct.
With not only the body, but that strength started to ramp up a little bit. And I was like, okay, this big boy cigar here.
Yeah, I got to pay attention
Yeah,
now.
100%. Like, okay, now we got to focus a little bit so we can finish this cigar.
Right.
Great cigar. And in fact, I went back and bought more now.
Yeah.
Because I found them. They're going to go away. So I'm like, I'm going to stock up and let them sit.
And there are times Andy will get a sample of something. He's like, hey, try this. And I'll smoke it. And the cigar is so complex. Like, it's a cigar that, boys, we don't need to be talking right. Like, I can't talk to you right now. Like, I'm paying attention because there's so many nuances. They're coming in, going out, going in. And then he'll say, what do you think? And I'll say, you probably could sell this in the future. You can't sell this now. Nobody's going to get it. They're not there yet. They'll get it and they'll be like, I really don't like. I don't know. Because they'll be missing out on what the cigar has to offer.
Exactly.
Because their palate's not there yet. It's not to say, well, we won't take it on in the future. Yeah. But the cigar is just so complex.
Do you remember the cigar you gave Zach and I when we left, and what is exactly what you told us, Andy?
Yep.
And they
Pay
just,
attention
you have to.
this cigar.
You have
Because
to.
if you blink, you'll miss it.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was that Sans Puree Purple.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
it was the Petite Corona.
Yes,
I mean,
it
it
is,
was
right.
not, it wasn't, a big cigar.
Right.
Not a lot of tobacco there.
But see, that's the fun in cigar smoking when something like that comes along. And you light it up, and I'm like, you're just expecting another, and then you sit there and you're like, oh boy, maybe Andy shouldn't have given this to me now. Oh, I gotta pay, and then you're having a conversation, you're like, hang on a minute, I gotta pay attention here because this, and your mind is racing. Here comes one thing, and as soon as it comes in, it's gone. And then here comes something else, and then in the back of your palate, it's still there. What is that? And now you're thinking. I like that challenge every once in a while. That's a good feeling in cigar smoking. But to that point, you look at your demographic of your shop, you're like, these boys ain't ready for that yet.
Well, it's a tough thing too, because I think like we all 5 of us nerd out about cigars, and we
Yeah,
have
do.
that capacity and that understanding of cigars to be able to dive into it. Where I think most novice or just hobbyist smokers mistake that for not being consistent.
Correct.
So there's a lot of people
Correct.
that are not, they're just hobbyists. They pick up a bunch of different cigars. I'm not gonna say any brands, but they're smoking all different cigars from the same brand, and they're like, these cigars just aren't consistent. And it's so hard in a lounge atmosphere to be able to provide the education and the environment with a low stimulus to be able to explain. That's what a cigar does. It's taking you on a journey. What you're mistaking for inconsistency is actually the cigar telling you a story.
Well put.
And to your point, question for the group. The common phrase in the industry, we smoke with our eyes. We just talked, you just mentioned that, Paul. People they're gonna gravitate to a band, okay? Whether it be they know the name or the band. There's a lot of gorgeous artwork out there in some of these bands. My question for the group is this: is there a downside to smoking with your eyes?
Absolutely. There are so many people out there that still believe if the lighter's light, it's going to be a light cigar, versus if it's dark, it's going to blow me away and I'll never be able to smoke it. And that, maybe at one time, that might have been true, but it certainly hasn't been true the last 20 years, at least for me, when I started really getting into it. Because one of the things that we like to do here is, and we can't always do it if we're super busy, but if Connor's here, Paulie's here, I'm here, when we get somebody in, we meet them at that humidor. We go in, we ask them a series of questions about what do you like? What is your level of experience? What have you smoked before? Because labels can be deceiving, wrappers can be deceiving, and we've been working really hard to get them away from, yes, it's a beautiful wrapper, yes, it's a beautiful box, but if you smoke that wrapper just because you think it's going to be light, it may end up making you sick as a dog because it's one of the strongest ones we have in there.
Right.
So we've worked very hard to get folks away from the eye shopping, but it's prevalent. It is.
Oh,
You can
I'll
revert
use
to-
the example I recently went through about a year ago. I got to smoke it's from Arsanos, the El Popo, from using AJ Tobacco, and I was really excited to smoke that cigar. I saw all the talk about it online. It looks really cool because it has a squid on the wrapper. The box is sick to look at. I was going in expecting. I was building up in my mind of what I wanted that cigar to be. I want to preface this saying it was a wonderful cigar, but smoking it, it wasn't my cup of tea. It was a brilliant cigar. I could appreciate what it was trying to do and the people that it was going to be marketed for just wasn't what I personally look for in a cigar. It was more of for me, it was more of a medium smoke, not very peppery, almost baking spice, earthiness. Great profile, but not something I had built it up in my mind to be. So that was just my most recent.
Well, let's take it like, let me put it to you like this, how I rate it. Look at people that drink Johnny Walker Blue. They drink Johnny Walker Blue because it looks good on the table. It's $200 a bottle. But if you ask them, what do you like about it? It's smooth. And you're like, well, okay, outside of that, we know that already. What do you like about it? 9 times out of 10, they can't tell you. Why are they drinking it? Because that's what everybody wants to see, and that's what's on the table. Same thing with cigars. Guys will smoke for joy. Say, what do you like about it? I'll tell you a funny story. I shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to admit it. We had a friend of ours on Sundays back home in New York, after church, we used to meet at my friend Christie's house. Whole bunch of us would get together. We'd sample some whiskey and we would smoke cigars. Had a guy that only smoked was Padron. Didn't want to hear it. Only smoked Padron. So one day he went over Christie and he got factory smokes, took all the labels off. He came over, he says, and I wasn't there that day. He says, Paulie, that comes here, right? He gets his hands on all the cigars. Well, boy, he got a gem. This cigar here is Padron-esque. It can't be. He said, I'm telling you. He said, it's made in the same factory. So he took it, gave it to the guy, and the guy smoked it. He's like, oh my Lord. He sat there and he smoked it, and wound up smoking too. And then he said to him, well, you only smoke Padron. He said, I'm going to tell you what you were smoking. And the guy said, it can't be. So he took one with a label, said, gave him a whole bunch, went home and smoked. The guy came back and he's like, I just bought like 5 or 6 bundles. But then I said to him, I said, listen, this wasn't to make you look bad or feel bad. What we're trying to tell you is, why do you smoke Padron? Like, did you smoke a whole bunch of other stuff and you came to Padron? Or was like, he says, no. He says, that's what all my friends smoke. And that's what I saw. And I said, okay. What I want you to do is just keep an open mind. It's not, nobody really cares. More times than not, if I come in and I'm not in Andy's place, I take the label off what I'm smoking. I really do. Because guys will say, what are you smoking that for? Because it's what I like. This is what it does for me. And I can tell you why I like it. I said, do you want to know why I like it? Yeah, well, some guys are curious. Some guys are like, nah, I don't want to hear it. It's okay. But yeah, that could be twofold. Yeah, it's a Padron. Yeah, it's an Opus X. But I mean, I've smoked some $75 Opus that were like, okay, it's good. I told my son, I'm glad you bought it for my birthday, but do yourself a favor. Buy me five cigars at this price instead of spending that. I'd rather, because it's, I tell guys, smoke what you like, don't smoke. If you want to treat yourself every so often, go ahead. Don't look at labels. Go by what you like.
Well, and Zach and I talk about that a lot, because in our humidor, at our lounge in Southern Pines, primarily legacy brands, not a lot of the boutique brands in there. And that's totally fine, because again, much like your humidor, the clientele in Southern Pines has driven a lot of those selections,
Right.
and the regulars and things of that nature. But there's also a lot of what I call the undercards of the factories that are in there. San Cristobal,
Exactly.
Fuera de las Antilles, La Roma de Cuba, those types of cigars that punch well above their price point,
100%.
because they're still made at the same factories.
What's my story?
It's the same tobacco. Yep.
I had not to interrupt you. This brings everything to what you're saying tonight, and I'll tell you why. Years and years ago, you remember Baccarat cigars, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can buy them on Cigar International, $49 for 20. Guys would look at you and say, what are you smoking that for? Until word got out that Davidoff was making them for them.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, they went from a bundle to a box, and they're over $100 now. And all of a sudden, everybody's smoking Baccarat. And I walk in, I said, what are you smoking about? You know where this is made? I was like, bro, who do you think told you it was made there? So my thing is, it's like, listen, don't knock. I'll tell you a funny story. One day I went to, you remember Cigar Fest? Cigar International used to have the things, the first Cigar Fest I went to. Old man from Wendy was so live, he was sitting, so that you walk up, you hand the ticket, they give you a cigar. The old man was sitting in the corner, minding his business, and he had a bunch of cigars in his pocket, he had a cigar in his hand. So when I went to hand the guy the ticket, he handed me the cigars, I said, I don't want that. I pointed to the old man, I said, I want what's in there. And I caught his eye, he said, come here. Went over there, he took him out of his pocket, he handed me two. The name of the cigar was called Boozer. B-A-U-Z, I think, and the guy told me that's all he smokes. He doesn't even smoke what he made. That's what he smoked. He said it's in his humidor on his desk. And here's a guy that can smoke anything he's on, that's what he smoked. Made in his factory. Montesino.
Yep.
Made by a Tor Fuente.
Yep.
Why are you not buying it? I don't mind being seen smoking that. I tell guys, you ever smoked the 858? Yeah. Well, guess what, buddy? This is made with the leftovers from the 858. Smoke
100%.
it.
Montesino's, in fact, my good friend, John Oliva, works for JC Newman down in Florida,
Okay.
and he serves Fuente.
Mhm.
And Tommy Curtis, the director of sales for the United States for Fuente, we have the Montesino conversation all of the time because literally I challenge, let's go across the entire state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Tell me where you find a Montesino.
Yeah, you got it.
It's going to be on one hand and you probably got a couple fingers left over.
And that's what I was talking about
And it's a
earlier.
ridiculous cigar.
Some of these companies, my sales rep for Arturo Fuente, Mills,
Yeah, Mills.
great guy. And he's one of those guys that care more about the growth than getting the big sale. He wants me to succeed. And I mean, you know how big the Arturo Fuente line is.
Yep.
But one of the first cigars we ever talked about was a Montesino.
Yep.
I brought it in here, but I was amazed at how many people didn't know
100%.
that Arturo Fuente made that cigar. And for the price of that cigar and the quality of that cigar, like you said, it is nowhere near its punching weight when it comes to price. I think it should be on average $2 to $3 more a stick. But that goes back to what you're saying. And the other funny thing is, I was even guilty of this. My palate has grown again. It had become very narrow, but because I'm doing it every day and I'm breathing it every day, I'm smoking sticks that I would have never smoked, because for me, it was always about, got to get the darkest Maduro out there. But when you start doing your research and that passion grows, you realize, hey, that Montesino's an excellent stick.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so many other examples out there that just because it might be an $8 stick or a $7 stick, that doesn't make it a bad stick.
No.
A lot of times it makes it a damn good stick at an even better price point.
100%.
And when I started really smoking cigars in my 20s, I'm like Paulie, I'm not afraid to admit it. You know, sometimes you only have $20 in your pocket.
That's right.
And you budget shop. And believe it or not, $20 can get you some outstanding cigars. And when we talked about this place, 80% of our sticks are between $8 and $15. But I would say that 100% of those sticks, I don't care what you're used to smoking. I don't care if you're smoking a $100 stick, a $50 stick, you can find a really, really fantastic cigar in that price point. And it just still amazes me. You know, it's hard for me to wrap around it, but that's part of the learning process.
And to follow on to that point, you know, we always, you know, everybody talks about complexity of blends and things of that nature. But when you actually really get into the cigar industry, and a perfect example is AJ Fernandez, I think. This is just
Great cigar.
Steve Spinero opinion. But AJ just started making his own line in the New World portfolio.
Yeah.
All of these other cigars that a lot of people like, he's probably made some of them. You know, same thing with Pepin. How many other cigars has Pepin made out of the My Father factory for another company? Placencia, same thing.
Aganorsa.
Aganorsa.
We can have this conversation all day long.
So when you really dig into the cigars, talk back to shopping with your eyes, sure, you're picking up a label that says X. And more times than not, in a legacy brand, it's going to be made in that factory by that brand. But there's that other space of the tobacco, the cigar industry, where you picked up X, but Y made it for them.
Yeah. Look, even with blenders, like you look at different cigars. So you look at Don Nieves, right? So people look at that cigar, it's sold on cigar page. I'm not going to smoke it. Did you ever look at who's making it? Felix Messer is making it. Look at his history and where he's come from. So right away, they're like, well, I'll never smoke them, they're cheap. Rolando Pages, he's all over cigar page, right? He has all those brands. He managed one of AJ's factories until he gave him the blessing to go. Don't turn your back and look at somebody and say, well, I've never heard of him, I'm not going to smoke it. Look at who's making the cigars.
Oh,
And I would challenge
Yanko
any,
Masita, Chico Rivas, just do your homework.
yep.
and I would challenge anybody who has not smoked the New World to say they didn't like it. And that is not an expensive stick,
Nope.
but it is a fabulous stick. And I would challenge anybody to say that that stick could not last a 100-round fight with any other stick out there.
Getting back to the lounge, Andy, when Zach and I were here and we came to visit you guys before, I had made the comment. In fact, there's a picture, it's off camera right now, but the picture of the gentleman by the cardboard cutout.
Yes.
That looks like it came out of somebody's home. And I asked you about that, like, hey, these look like there's some personal items in here, or are they connected to you? Tell me a little bit about, how you've kind of opened up the lounge to those kind of artifacts.
Going back to the wanting to make it like a den, like an old school den that you grew up in. We have a lot of guys that come in with a lot of things that mean something to them. And we've always said, if it means something to you, then it's going to mean something to us. And a lot of the pictures that you see on the back wall up here have been brought in by folks who said, hey, this was my granddad. This was my brother, uncle. I coached him as a young man when he was little, when Connor was coming up, 10, 11, 12 years old, playing baseball. He went and did a tour in Afghanistan. And you know what? To me, there'll always be kids. But one of the cool things was he stopped in here one day and I saw him and he's like, I just got back and I'm talking to him. And I was like, dude, I got to have something of yours to commemorate. So he brought in some personal patches. We put them up. But that's what we want here. We're real big supporters of the military, but not just the military. I mean, you've got so many people that go out and work 9-to-5 jobs. Whether that be, we've got guys that work outside all day, support their families. That to me is a hero. And we want that up here on our walls. We want that feeling in here. Cigars for Warriors. We love that organization. Last night, Paulie was there, Connor was there. We did we do 2 a year, bourbon dinner. We partner with Crow Creek Golf Course. Small get together. We raised 110 cigars in basically 3 hours for Cigars for Warriors. But I get a little emotional because it means a lot to us to be able to represent not what we like, but what meant something to you. Our patch wall has a mental health patch on it. A mental health patch in a cigar bar, but that's important because a lot of the guys that come in here, some of them have PTSD issues, whether that be from them being a medic on an ambulance unit or somebody that's been in combat or somebody that's lost a child, God forbid. And we tell them, hey, it doesn't have to be a military patch. I have patches from cigar clubs, other cigar clubs, because that's where they got their start. And they come to me and say, hey, Andy, can I put it up? Absolutely. And that's That's just really important to us here. You know, I didn't want it to be where people just, I wanted it to feel like,
I'm sitting at home in my own lounge and I'm looking at something that
yeah.
reminds me of being home.
I mean, I just lost a dear friend. Worked with him for 17 years. I have a picture of him. He'll always be hanging up over the bar. I mean, it's just, his sons gave me one of his police badges. He had 3. When he died, his sons both got one. And when he was on his final day, he's like, I want Andy to have the 3rd one. That's proudly displayed in here. But that's not just for Andy, that's for anybody. And that's why we have some of this stuff hanging up. And that's why as long as we have space, we're going to encourage that.
Follow on to that. Tell us a little bit about, I know for the viewers, you can't see it's on camera, but out in front of the lounge outside is the missing man chair.
Absolutely. We're very proud of that. Rolling Thunder is an organization that to this day continues to support missing POWs, folks, and I did not even know this. There's still 250,000 unaccounted men and women. That number is sickening.
Staggering.
It absolutely is. Well, one day I had some of those when I first opened. They came in, checked out the vibe. They're sitting around and they're like, we'd love for you to have a missing man chair. And that was one of our greatest honors. It's roped off. They came and put the chair in, they put the plaque in, and it's amazing to me how many people come up, look at it. I go outside, I hear conversations about it. But we're one of the few commercial businesses, from my understanding, that's ever gotten one. Usually you'll see them in the parks, you'll see them, you know, at the military monuments, museums, government buildings. But that goes back to, we're always going to have a chair here for that person who makes it home.
That's awesome. And to your point, full transparency, I did 22 years. Zach was a combat medic, that same one that you had mentioned. 7 tours in Afghanistan. This cigar for me is part of now my mental health regimen.
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of people are going to be like, well, you know, smoking's addictive, and then we're not even going to get into that debate right now because that's like 3 or 4 more hours of content to have that argument. I just respectfully disagree with that comment. But a lot of times at home, I get my cigar, I go out on my back patio, and I smoke by myself. It's a time for me to collect my thoughts, process my day.
Reflection,
100%.
And that's what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It gives you an hour or two, because you never know what somebody's going through. I never served in combat. I was in the Air Force, never served in combat. But what I would say to that is, just because you haven't done that, or even if you have done that, there are things that go on that you have no idea about what's going on with somebody's life. But if they can come in here and grab a cigar and sit there for 2 hours and feel totally relaxed, dude, is that not a win?
Yeah, 100%.
What do men, more times than not, men go home and because you're the breadwinner and you're head of the household, you're never really heard. They know you're there, you bring home the pay. Sometimes men just want to be heard. They're dealing with things, and we're told as men, you don't share, right? Men don't share. You hold it in until you can't hold it. Sometimes you can come in the lounge and you could just strike a conversation and you say to a guy, hey, how you doing? Well, I wish I was doing better. Well, you want to talk about it? You know, you don't have to, but you know, I'm willing to listen. You don't mind? No. And then the guy will just say, well, let me run this by you, tell me. Sometimes they just want to talk. Just want to know that somebody's going to listen. And you could just sit there and listen. This is the greatest icebreaker in the world, right? You can get a guy that's a little bit of an introvert. doesn't know much about a lot of things, but in that moment, we all have one thing in common, this cigar, right? So now this is the great icebreaker. And you just start talking, it's simple talk, it's cigars. And then before you know it, the guy said, well, you were talking earlier, and I'd like to say, what's on your mind? And there you go. You chipped away a little bit. He shared a little bit more that normally wouldn't, and his friend would say, that's the most he said in the whole time I know. Right. It could be you can use this as a great icebreaker, conversation. It's something we don't do anymore. I think if we did more and I was able to understand you and understand Zach, now I have a different appreciation. Now I know why the guy's like that. Or I know, okay, this is and can be great therapy. Because sometimes you just want to be heard. Like guys go to a therapist, they know they're at a therapist, or they know that, okay, I'm just going to go through the motions. I'm going to tell him what she wants. Yeah, I just want to get out of here. But in here, I don't know him. He don't know me. I don't know anything about him. He's not under the gun. It's this. And then you see him once, twice, 3 times. Before you know it, you're friends now. And you see him out. And before you know it, here comes the conversation. Can I share something with you? That's cigar smoking. Cigar smoking is community. It's this, which normally wouldn't happen, right?
Right.
This is the icebreaker. It brings you together, me together. I get to know you, and this is it. And then if you have a message like Andy's veterans, how can we bring that to the forefront? Cigars. We can do this and bring a message out. To your point, reflect. It is the greatest icebreaker. It can be therapy. Put that all aside. It's nicotine is, yeah, so is medicine for the most part, right? You look at a medicine ad, there's more things that'll kill you in medicine that'll help you, right? Okay, you can say whatever you want. All I know is this guy came in here and this is the man he is now with this. I see great value in this because this is what comes from this. Hey, why are you smoking that? Oh, I really like it. What do you like about it? And there's the conversation that starts. This is such a great, this is a gentleman's thing. We've kind of lost sight of the fact that why do we start smoking cigars? Brings us joy.
And we make sure that anybody that comes in here
Feels welcome.
we don't let them sit by themselves. We pull them into the group.
Yes.
We do. Because like Paulie said, some guys, they don't know how to get started. And we cut up in here left and right.
Yeah, we do.
And we might laugh and mess with you, but at the end of the day, it gives you the outlet if you want to take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll share a story when Zach and I came down before. One of your regulars, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he has the dog,
Yes.
little white dog that he rescued.
Yes.
Rescue dog.
Skylar,
that's right. So Zach and I are sitting over there in those 2 chairs where Zach and Connor are sitting. And I think you had got up and we're helping a customer out and things of that nature. And somebody came in and Skylar started barking a little bit and scurrying around. Next thing you know, Skylar jumps up in my lap, and that's where he stayed the rest of the time. So when you talk about how you've put this lounge together to feel like you're at somebody's den,
Yeah,
or the man cave, or whatever you want to call it, the best garage lounge ever, right? Zach and I came down. I think we walked in about 11 o'clock in the morning, smoked 1 cigar with you, took a lunch break. Zach and I went and had lunch, came back, smoked more cigars, continued to talk with you. Now we have a dog in our lap. No different than if I had I take pictures all the time. I've got chairs out on the patio specifically that the dogs have now commandeered. And I'll be sitting in my chair and I'll got one of my dogs sitting there and one's laying right there. Those are my smoking buddies. I take pictures of them. But again, it was no different than smoking at my house. Literally. It
right.
was the same exact thing.
The atmosphere we try to create here is you guys live up in Raleigh, let's say. Whenever you come here, you can walk in here, feel like I was in here yesterday. That's what we want to create. You may be somebody that just visits every summer. When you come through the door, we make it a point to try to remember, man, it's been a long time. How you been? Come on, grab a cigar, sit down. Don't worry about it. Just sit down, let's start talking. You want that feeling like when I go there, boys, I know exactly where we're going. Because we're going to walk through that door and it's going to be like we were there yesterday.
And it's crazy because a lot of people come in, they'll try to hand me a credit card if they say, hey, can we start a tab? And we're like, no, man, just pay when you leave. We don't need a credit card. We don't need to hold that.
Yeah.
Because the community here, the cigar community, is the greatest community in the world.
That's a fact.
It really is.
We want you to be here. We want you to be at home. And if I have to start holding people's credit cards at the bar, we've lost that.
Yeah.
And to your point about what cigar smoking does, about walks of life. You remember when Cigar Aficionado first started, they used to have 2 seatings. During the day, it was just like an open thing you went, and at nighttime, you had to wear a tuxedo or a suit and tie. You had to sit at a big round table. So I went to one with a friend of mine, and you're sitting there, it's a big round table. Across from me was an appellate court judge. Then you had an eye doctor from Mother Cabrini Hospital, and you had all these guys, and they start introductions. So, Zach, what do you do? I'm an eye doctor. What do you do? I'm a judge, chief of police in New York City. You go around, and then they get to me and say, Paul, what do you do? I said, I'm in garbage. And the guy said to me, what company you own? I said, no. Told the judge, you know that shit your wife puts on the curb? I pick it up. Well, they all start laughing. They go crazy. And we're all talking and stuff like that. And at the end, the judge says, Paul, come over here. I want to explain something to you. He said, I got a little more time on you. He says, if you look at everybody at this table, I'm a judge. Yeah, my friend over there is the chief of police in New York City. He's an eye doctor, and here it is, you're a garbage man. But in this moment, guess what? The same problems you have, I have. They're just on a different scale. I have a wife that don't listen to me. I have kids that are ungrateful, and all they want is this. We have all the same problems. Doesn't matter what we do. In this moment now, if you didn't tell us what we do, we love cigar smoking. We're having a good time. We're enjoying each other's company. That is what this is about. It has nothing to do with who you are, where you come from. We're sharing conversation. We're smoking. It doesn't matter what I do. If you never said it, it doesn't really matter. I'm not talking to you. Well, you're a garbage man. I'm not going to talk to you. I have the same problems you do. Mine are on just a little bit bigger scale than yours.
Well, when you think about it, this is like the most casual boardroom ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So think about it. You go in the boardroom, right? The conference room, big meeting.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their nameplate with their title.
Mhm.
You come in here to this boardroom, everybody's nameplate says cigar smoker.
Yeah.
All the way around.
Yeah.
And it is, and then we're going to talk about cigars, and everybody again is on different levels of either knowledge or
100%.
experience or likes and dislikes of blends. I mean, we've covered all of those topics in this podcast. But at the end of the day, as soon as that door opens, you only have one title, and that's cigar smoker.
That's it.
That's
Or
it.
friend,
Right.
family,
Correct.
all encompassing,
And look,
and everything that goes with those.
Right. Now, we can agree to disagree on a lot of things. We very rarely go down those roads. It's not about that. We're not here to. We're here to have a good time, regardless. I listen. I could talk to somebody that has different views than me. I don't really care about that. I'd like to know why you feel that way, so I can better understand why you feel that way. That's what we've lost. So right away we just, I'm not talking to him because Steve said not to. And I'll say, well, why don't you like him? Well, Steve says he's not a good guy. Have you ever talked to him? Have you ever met him? Have you ever shared a conversation with him? No. Then don't do that.
Yeah.
Anybody that comes through the door, I don't care what it says on their shirt or what they're wearing. It doesn't really matter. In this moment, sit down. I'd love to know your name. Sit down. Tell us a little bit, and let's just smoke a cigar.
Technical question back to how Patriot Cigars came to be Patriot Cigars. You've mentioned before that, again, obviously you started with the one humidor. Now you've expanded to the second humidor.
Yes, sir.
So when you were starting and you wanted to stock the humidor, okay, what cigars did you know you're putting in here?
Oh my
And then
God.
what cigars were you like, all right, let's make a decision and let's kind of like, what do we think is going to work?
My initial order were probably the 3 most stressful days in my life. It took me 3 days to put together my initial order with different folks because it's like Paulie said earlier. If I put in stuff I liked, it'd have been short-lived. And that's probably the hardest question you've asked tonight because I lost sleep over it. I went back, I kept changing it because all of a sudden it's not about me, not about Paulie, not about Connor, it's about a community. And that's what we got started, and then we really got started by listening. Did I get everything right my first day? Absolutely not. But we went slow. We didn't try to pack the shelves. And actually, the first day I opened, and Paulie and Con will tell you this, I probably only had 85 facings because it was a matter of we need to go slow and see what folks are going to tell us, because we have people that live in this county. It's a major retirement community, and they're from all over. I'll make an example. El Mago, brilliant guy. Nick, he's running that company. I'd never heard of him, but I had 2 or 3 guys keep in my ear, Andy, you need to try El Mago. You need to try El Mago. If somebody had told me a year ago I would have 14 to 15 of his facings, I would have been like, who's that? Craziness. And he is such a fixture here now, and he's doing great things in the cigar industry that I think will just take him further and further up the success ladder. But getting back to it, that's just not an easy question because we grew it. I mean, when you walked in the humidor the very first day we were open, I don't want to say it was sad because there were a lot of good choices, but man, it was hard to even get to those boxes because you have a dream, you're beginning to realize that dream, and then you're thinking, what happens if they show up and they don't like any of them? And I know that's not going to happen, but there's a couple of days when you're doing it, you're thinking that's going to happen. And I know I'm not giving you a really coherent answer because even now, when we sit around and discuss a company or have a cigar and discuss a company, we dissect the heck out of it before it makes it into that humidor, because I think anybody that has a humidor will tell you limited space. It's never big enough. I don't care how big your company is. The humidor is never going to be big enough. So, I mean, sometimes it takes us 2, 3, 4 weeks to make a decision on maybe 1 or 2 boxes.
I remember the first phone call. I unfortunately wasn't here for the opening setup. I had army training. I was at Leonard Wood doing my bullet courses, and I remember that night. It was about 8, maybe 9 o'clock at night over there, and I had just all morning I had done CDTF, so I had been in a chamber of live nerve agent. I had that. Then we immediately went straight into like the first part of our nuclear test. So I had a big day, but I remember that phone call and my dad just reading out the list, that opening row of cigars, and I'm like, seems like a solid list. They had a little bit of everything. They had some mild, they had some full. I can't remember all the brands, to be honest, but it was a solid list. In my mind, I'm thinking there's definitely 1 or 2 cigars in there I'd like to smoke. And that's about all you can go on. Because if you can find that one cigar someone likes to smoke, well, they know now where to get that cigar, and they can come back to the door and they can continue shopping and building that relationship.
It was a very stressful time, and we continue to evolve. We continue to make changes. Paulie summed it up really well when he said we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. We try to offer some things that you don't typically see in this part of the state. But yeah, that's stressful, and it's stressful even today.
Right.
I mean, we will sit around and absolutely dissect a cigar before it comes in here, because what's crazy is, like, say that these 2 guys really like it, but I'm like, yeah, that creates, or vice versa, maybe Paulie doesn't like it, but it just is
Yeah,
it's exhausting.
yeah.
I'm exhausted even trying to answer the question because there's not a good way to answer
When
that
I
question.
first walked into Andy's humidor, he had just with the basic, what you would call a basic starter kit that you start with. So when you walk into a humidor and you look and say, well, if this is going to be my lounge, you look at the place and you say, okay, what's our demographic? You live in a retirement community. You have people that smoke every day. So if you're a guy that smokes every day, I have a budget. So I would love to smoke $15 cigars every day. It's unfeasible. So you want, if you have a guy that's smoking every single day, that's 7 cigars a day for a month, and you add them up and you're like, well, how do I keep this guy smoking? You got to give them offerings that are premium, that smoke there, and you need to convince them, hey, this is just as good as this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you look at your humidor and you build a humidor out, you want to keep it affordable, $8 to $15. You can, I mean, there are even $6 that Tatuaje Type 2
Oh my God,
at
yeah.
$6. Why people aren't beating the door down? If you're a cigar, the Juarez
Mm-hmm.
is another one, gem. How nobody is like beaten down, like why is that? So you look at the humidor and you say, okay, Andy, we have to sell cigars. At the end of the day, that's what we're here to do. So let's look at this humidor. Do we need to give them premium facings? Yes. Your premium faces are this. And then you have everybody else. So you look at your humidor and you say, okay, we need a cigar that can sell. It starts at around the $8 range and it could top out at 18. So we're going to try to stay 8 to 12 first. See how they move, see how they sell, give them a new face. And then you look at the demographic. 90% of people here were buying out of a catalog. What are they seeing? So for argument's sake, when he brought in the Comfortably Numb from Espinosa, you look at that, you're like, nobody's going to buy that. Everybody walked in, it was like, I just seen that in the catalog. That's Espinosa. Boom, and here it is. Andy's selling units of it, right? It's what are they seeing? And then it's a matter of paying attention. And like I said, I have my friend Jason I smoke with, like we look at the humidor. Every time we come in, I walk in that humidor and I stare at it. And I look at it, it's okay. We have everything. We have some flavored stuff. We have Connecticut's to get people started. We have mediums, we have Habanos. And you look at the humidor and like, you say to yourself, all right, I'm a consumer. I walk in here like I'm walking into Andy's humidor. What do I want to see? And that comes from experience of years of smoking. I know your palate, know Zach's palate. If they walked in here, what are they looking for? How can we do? And you look at it from, I'm not looking at it like I'm here to help Andy. I'm looking at it like, okay, what would I see in this humidor? And you pay attention to what you see in other places. What are they selling? What's the movement like? Who's selling what? You know, the new thing is now there's so much buzz on social media. Guys see new stuff every day. Every so often, give them something. And they're like, well, I just seen that cigar. Or we put it up that you're smoking. You're like, and a lot of times I put up, does Andy have them there? They'll call me, hey, Andy has them there? Yeah, he does. Oh, I'm going. Like there was a cigar that sells up and above the AJ brand, and it's the Ramon Alones from AJ Fernandez. So I remember we were just in here talking about it that day. Andy heard us talking. And I was like, that cigar here would just like take off. That cigar is special. You know how many people see that cigar and have no idea AJ makes it?
I do listen.
No, you do listen. But what I'm saying is it's a matter of paying attention to the people that smoke, listening to what you say, listen to what Zach says, listen to your customers will tell you. You may have guys you never seen before and they're talking about a cigar and they're like, well, they're huge League of Nine guys. My son is a huge League of Nine guy. We don't have League of Nine here. What can we give them? That, and you see, that's where I say Creekside shines is they're giving you an alternative to that. Pay attention. They're telling you. People are telling you. The Oro from Fratello. If you've ever smoked a Davidoff Millennial, smoke that back to back. Take the labels off, smoke it back to back. Let a Davidoff smoker tell me he knew that wasn't a Davidoff. They can't. Right?
I concur.
Right.
Because I'm gonna grab a handful of those Oros before I leave.
But that being said, is when Andy builds a humidor, and like I said, I walk in here, it's like, this is going to be my lounge. It's so close to home. He has to, I told my wife, this is going to be like a life's work. He has to succeed. I'm dying in this community. I need a lounge I can call my own. I had it back home. Back home, I could walk. I was in 5 or 10 lounges. The Den in New Jersey, Main Street Cigars, Barclay Rucksack. I could walk at any, and you create a community where listen to what they say.
That second or third night, we had like 15, 20 guys hanging out outside, inside.
Right.
And I'm thinking, this is exciting, but we let those guys and all of them still come here, but we let those guys decide the rules, the different rules. Cigarette smoking. No, we can't have that. So, we have a tremendous number of stakeholders that have really helped establish the humidors. I guess that's why that question wasn't easy. because our stakeholders, 80% of what has come in here has been Connor, Paulie, and the different stakeholders that come in here. I'd love to say, oh yeah, I'm a genius. I've built it to 350 offerings now, but I'd be lying my ass off. It's a bunch of good guys with varying degrees of smoking experience that have made great recommendations. Not everything makes it in because sometimes it is a space issue.
Yeah.
But 80% of what we carry, wouldn't you say that about 80% has been made
Yeah.
as a group?
Yep.
You know, the Karen Burgers, wow. The Fratello. I mean, Paulie was in my ear about Fratello. I mean, and he was 100% right.
One of our good customers.
El
Wayne
Mago. Yeah, Wayne. Oh my God. Wayne with
Rojas.
Rojas and Karen Berger. I mean, we have stakeholders. We don't have customers. And I don't mean to sound corny when I say that, but we have stakeholders.
As a cigar shop owner, Andy, I tell them you have to be receptive. You can't just say, well, that's my room, I'm going to put it in. No. You're only as good as the people that smoke by you. You're only as good as the people that come here. You know, you have to listen to them. You have to make them feel involved. It's your lounge. When you come here to visit us, you're like family. This is your lounge. You could come here and sit down and feel at home anytime. Like I know exactly where that you want to create that atmosphere. You wanted people to feel they're a part of something. You know, and that's the atmosphere you create. And in that, they will tell you and share with you what they want to see. Give them what they want. And every so often, you kind of throw something out. Sometimes there's a cigar we really want to try, you're not sure. Put it in there, let's see what it does. Sometimes it's great. So, look, we went with the CAO, for argument's sake, try to give them a little bit of taste. We went with the Americana, and we went with the Brasilia. Those sell like fantastic, right? They sat in here for 9, 10 months. They didn't move, nothing.
Yeah, great cigars.
We take them, we put them out on the counter, we do a sale. He sells them out, and all of a sudden they come in and ask, hey, where's those Brasilia? We had them here for 9 months.
They're like, and some of them are like, you didn't have these. These
Yeah,
are
we
great
did.
cigars.
Yeah, we did.
No, we had them.
Top shelf.
Yeah, right there.
10 months.
But yeah, it's a hard business. It's a funny business, but you got to listen.
So great segue to this question. I'm going to ask Connor and Paulie first before I ask you. So Connor, where would you like to see Patriot Cigars in, let's say, the next 3 to 5 years? If you, because I'm asking you, but if Andy, the owner, asked you, where would you like to see Patriot Cigars in the next 3 to 5 years?
And don't say you being completely in charge and me being in a some type
Assisted
of
living.
care facility.
Well, we're already partly the way there on that. But realistically, because this is a 2-story building, I would like to see this building use 100% of it. Because right now, when we first moved in, the previous tenant didn't take the best care of it, but there is an upstairs. I would love to see a sponsored lounge upstairs, something maybe a bit more private. Because down here is a den, but we also have a lot of guys, they bring their laptops in. They're looking to go to work. They can't always join in on a conversation down here, but upstairs would be a great spot for it. I would like to really refine our selection, make sure we're maximizing that space, and in 3 years' time, if I'm sitting in another location, running the shop while my dad's here or my brother's working behind the bar, then I'd be happy.
Same question to you, Paul. Where would you like to see Patriot Cigars in the next 3 to 5 years?
This one for me is pretty easy. What I would love to see is I want this shop to be like you're called the smoking standard. I want this shop to be the standard for this area in North Carolina. I want this shop to be the one people look to when they think about, I want to model my shop after this, or I want to know what are the guys at Patriot smoking. Create that atmosphere that people are more interested, like we're giving them good information and we're putting out the knowledge about cigars and they're learning and they're like, I don't know what direction I want in, and they can look to us to say, well, okay, look, these guys are setting the standard here in North Carolina. When people think North Carolina, Brunswick County, Patriot Cigars. I want for them, more so for myself, I want it for them to set the standard. Like people look at Patriot and say, yeah, them guys are doing something different. There's a culture there. They're building a cigar shop that's theirs, but around the people that smoke there. And we can go to them and look to them at what are they doing? What they have set a standard, a lounge etiquette, a kind of a culture around cigars, and they have their hand on the dial. They see the next best thing coming before it comes. Their picks are usually great, and their information is good. Are we going to get it right all the time? No, but it's someplace you can go. And if you ask, listen, I want Andy to be the guy that if another lounge owner came and said, hey, I'm kind of stale, man. You know, we're in the same business. Like, what are you guys doing different? That he can share that and pour into that man. Listen, you want him to be just as successful as you because Andy can send people to him and he can send people here. You want to be that one that stands up for everybody and says, yeah, we're that brand. We have a brand on it. We're setting the standard for what's coming, the culture in North Carolina. Because between Wilmington and South Carolina, there's no place in between. There's us. Right? So set the standard. You came here because you heard something. That's what you want. What's the buzz? You want to create that thing where when people look at Patriot Cigar, that's who I can rely on. That's a place that I can go. I can hold an event here. I can come. You want the cigar industry to look at you and say, I need to get in there. We need to be a part of that. That's what I want to be. I want my cigar sold there because of this. Integrity, heritage, history. There's something behind that. Why are people going there? I need to be in there. That's what I want.
And finally, to you, Andy.
I'd like to build a legacy for my boys, my family, the community. I'd like to continue our partnerships with the different businesses that we've been very successful with to date. I want it to be known as a place that anybody can come and have a great smoke. Logistically, of course, we're working on getting upstairs open, but for me, it's about legacy. We can't all stay here forever. Most of us have a very short period of time on this earth, but I want one day for maybe my grandkids or great grandkids to say, you know what, the old man loved a great cigar, and he loved smoking it with a great group of guys.
That's awesome.
For me, it's legacy.
Awesome.
Do you want to do like a on the spot question?
Yeah.
Which one?
So actually, Connor brought up a good point.
So we got to ask each one of you the answer, and then they'll expound upon it. Because we need the answers. There's no time to think about it.
Okay. All right. So rapid fire kind of a thing then.
Yeah.
All right. Connor already know what you're going to say, but we haven't heard from Andy or Paul. So in the lounge, cell phones, yes or no?
My opinion, no.
Yes and no, and I qualify that with I don't want people talking on them in the conversation, but we do have several business guys that come in, go back to the other man cave, conduct business, but they do it away from people.
Yes or no?
Yes, cell phones it's just become a fact. We're so attached to them in a sense where you can't really avoid them. There are different levels to it, but I'll see say someone in my age demographic use their phone just as much as say someone in the 70 to 80 demographic, because it's either going to be a call, it's going to be work, it's going to be family. Sometimes it's just looking up and looking at news because you want to look something up. Someone said something that someone else couldn't possibly believe, and you have to fact check that guy.
There's a lot of fact checking that goes on.
Because, yeah.
If I can expand on my answer, when I mean no, social media for us is your best friend. In that respect, yeah, you want to take a picture of your cigar, say we are smoking great. But when you're holding a conversation, to me, like if we're all talking now and I'm scrolling on my phone, that's a little rude. That's saying I really don't care what you have to say.
And that's my no on that.
We live and die, unfortunately, by social media now. It's no more word of mouth. That's long gone. Word of mouth still counts and who it's coming from. But yes, I still say no, because if the conversation is going on, the rudest thing I could do to you is, we're out to dinner. Me and you are having I'm scrolling and you're talking. Like, what are we doing here? I encourage guys, hey, take a picture. You're in the lounge, great. If guys are talking to you, hey, kind of put your phone down. The man's trying to talk to you. You know, right. But yeah, to Connor's point, yeah, so that's kind of like a middle of the road question. Do I want that? Yeah, because it brings, it lets you know where we are and who we are. But in that respect, when the conversation is going on, if you want to use your phone, excuse yourself. You know,
Yes.
get up. You know, you want to just scroll on your phone a couple minutes, excuse yourself, put your cigar down, go scroll, come back in. Because I don't want to take away from this man sharing something. I want to hear what he has to say. And I want everybody else to hear because I think what he has to say needs to be said. So if that helps.
Music in the lounge. Genre.
Yes. Genre, I'm fine with anything, say, we get a lot of jazz. I enjoy jazz, but for some other days, rock, alternative, maybe country.
Yes. What's funny though, I say yes, and we have a TV in here, but the TV is almost never a focal point.
Mhm.
But we use the TV to, you know,
Background noise.
It needs to be background noise.
yeah, it's usually, you know, easy listening, best songs from the 70s, best songs from the 60s. You know, we got a lot of guys from those generations that come in here, but it never interferes. And most of the time, I don't think anybody even realizes it's on. And I think that's the ultimate compliment.
For me, yes. I'm a standards guy. Sinatra, the old stuff, Tony Bennett, Vic Damone. I mean, we can go on and on. I like that because it takes me back to a time when this was a gentleman's thing. It was it wasn't frowned upon. It was looked at, when you walked into a room, there was gentlemen in that room. And you were in the company of men. And it was just, it was classy. There was etiquette behind it. It wasn't just a bunch of loud guys. And there's other music too. And sometimes the song could come on and a guy will say, do you remember this song? Do you remember? And so that part I do like. When you get to all that crazy stuff, it's more like a soothing music. Sometimes it's just, it sets the mood or the tone. You know, we're celebrating something, a song comes on, you're like, man, I got married. I remember when and that part of it. Yeah, I always say to my wife all the time, I was born in the wrong era. You know, I like that part where men got dressed up and like going to a lounge, men had slacks on, a pair of shoes. And the perfect example of that, when I was young and I used to go to Nat Sherman, Michael Herklotz, you would look at him and you'd be like Anthony Mazzola over at, and Foch over at Holtz. You look at them, you're like, yeah, that's what a man, that's how you go when you go to a lounge, you're in the company of men. It's just that era. You know what I mean? It takes you back to that time where, yeah, there's class behind this. It's not just...
To your point, Andy, our friend Harry, the manager of our local lounge, he uses music as a tool because he always says, I don't want this cigar lounge to be a sports bar. I mean, there's 3 giant TVs in there and it's golf all the time. Well, we live in Moore County. It's golf central, right? Golf mecca. But he uses the music as a tool. He says, I need music to be loud enough that we can have a conversation over here and not interrupt them and don't have people eavesdropping on our conversation.
Right.
And vice versa. But I don't want it too loud that everybody's screaming at each other.
That's
So he's
it.
like, it's just a sound buffer and a way to isolate the little groups that choose to sit in their own pod so that everybody doesn't feel like they're packed in a room of 40 people having
Good for
one
him.
conversation.
When
And
you see him,
that's-
tell him I said, that's fantastic.
That's what we do.
That summed it up right there. Perfect.
Final question, a little bit more controversial. Bring your own cigars, yes or no?
Listen, I get this a lot of times. A lot of times I will go somewhere and bring my own cigars, but more times than not, he relies on me to purchase my cigars and smoke them. Can you imagine if everybody brought their own cigars, came in, bought one just to satisfy the guy and smoked everything they had? If I bring cigars to a lounge, a lot of times if I'm out of town, it's because the guys that are there that I know have never smoked this, I want to share them. Do people bring their stuff? Yes. Is it hard to police them and say, hey, I really appreciate you? You can lose a lot of people. Pretty much you let them look at what everybody else is doing. Yeah, we encourage, if you're traveling and you have your humidor, fantastic. But we encourage you, this man makes business, and that you leave that up to your customers. Like sometimes The guy say, hey, most people have etiquette. They'll say, hey, what's the policy here? Like, am I allowed to? I have my own cigars. Yeah, but I use lounge time as smoking something I don't normally smoke. So when I come to a lounge, a lot of times I'll have them with me with not the intention of smoking unless I walk into a place and the humidor is like really lacking. I will still buy something and smoke it. And if I stay a little longer, I may take something else out, but more times than not, guys will say, hey, I said, listen, the man lives and dies here. If everybody came in, and they're like, no, I fully understand. So I like it when our own guys police that. Or they'll look like everybody's smoking what they're buying. So I'm not going to. So it's a little bit of discernment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can't encourage them not to, because every so often a guy may stay for 3 and the last one, he's only got 20 minutes left. If he takes one out, okay. He bought 3 cigars, he had a couple of drinks. Who cares? You can't police all of that, but it comes down to knowing better.
No, but not as a business owner. I grew up knowing that if I go to somebody's lounge, I may have cigars with me, but I also know that when you go to somebody else's house, you support that house.
Yeah.
And I just have always been raised like that, and I don't mean raised by my mother or father like that. I mean just raised in the community like that. To me, that would be like buying McDonald's and taking it down the street to Boundary House and eating it. Have we had guys come in with their own humidors? Absolutely. But luckily here we have not had that problem because they will always grab a cigar. Maybe they smoke one of their own, but they'll always grab a cigar or they'll grab a beer or, it's just the right thing to do. And as a business owner, switching back to the business owner side of it, it's expensive to maintain any business. And you have overhead, you have lights, you have electric, you have insurance, you have leases. So to me, it's just about etiquette. You go to somebody's house and you support that house. And I don't care whether that would be like the restaurant thing again, buying Taco Bell and eating it in McDonald's. Businesses cannot sustain it if you do that. So overall, my answer is no, but there are special exceptions to every no.
Yes, because there are special exceptions to that no. As long as you follow and maintain that etiquette, I understand not everyone has the opportunity to smoke at their home. Their they might not have a backyard. Their HOA might not allow smoking. Can't smoke inside. There's no reason why they can't take that birthday cigar, that anniversary cigar, that gift that they got from a buddy and not smoke it here, as long as they follow that etiquette of supporting the lounge in some way to show appreciation for providing that space. Absolutely. I'm not saying they need to go out if they have that $30, $40, $50 cigar with them that they're bringing in. They don't need to go in and buy $50 worth of cigars from us. Buy a cigar just to show the support to make sure we can keep providing this space and this environment to maintain that, lounge.
And it does go further. And I'll use this as a cigar lounge. A lot of cigar owners belong to different organizations that support cigar rights across the country. And when we pay those memberships, we pay those dues. That's part of the fight. So when you come in here and you just sit down and smoke your own cigar, it's a trickle effect. It's not only this business, but it's every business, because not every dollar that we take in goes into our pockets. It just doesn't. It becomes a trickle effect. So yeah.
Yeah, and you leave it to your people to police that. Listen, I'm in here, right? It's my lounge. So if I see a bunch of guys come in, and and it's going to happen because they're traveling a lot of times, and you just say, boys, look, just so you know, we appreciate you being here. You can smoke your own, but this man relies on you. You know, you're not just coming here to sit in the space. He relies on you to buy a cigar. And, you know, and they'll be like, "Are you the owner?" No, I'm not the owner, but this is my lounge. And if everybody did what you're doing now, this man goes out of business. I got nowhere to smoke. And I'm not condemning you for it. I'm just trying to teach you. If you're going to come into the lounge, buy something. He has $6 cigars in there. Go buy two. You don't want to smoke them? I don't care. Buy something from the man. Maybe get a bottle of water. If you want to smoke, and it's a celebratory cigar, go right ahead. But if you don't support him, there's nowhere for us to go. There's nowhere for you to go when you come to town. So I like the fact it's my lounge. We police that. We don't have to throw that burden on Andy. And a lot of times it's how you say it. You say it in a loving way. It's just boys. And a lot of times guys will be like, "Oh, I really apologize. I didn't know that." "Oh, yeah, come in the humidor. I don't care if you buy two $6 cigars. That's how the man makes money."
So that brought up a great bonus question, the one that just drives a nail through my spine. How do you feel about pipes, and do you allow them?
If we we haven't had to address that. We just haven't had any pipe smokers, but if somebody wanted to light up a pipe, the only two things that we draw the line at is any type of vaping product, any type of cigarette product. If somebody wanted to come in and have a pipe, they buy something at the bar. I don't have a problem with that. But what's funny is some of the guys that we do have that smoke pipes have actually started smoking some of the cigars, because some of the cigars now are using pipe blends, and when they've discovered them, they're like, oh my God, I've been missing out. So I don't have a problem with a pipe, but it goes back to the courtesy of what are you going to do to help support the lounge?
There's something funny. There's a story here, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to say it like that. We don't like to turn pipe smokers away. I mean, if the man wants to enjoy a pipe, it may interfere with what the guys are smoking. So you may say, hey, could you smoke over here because it interferes with. The reason you don't want to turn them away is this. If you look back at, let's go back 10, 15 years ago when Acid Cigar first started. I remember when Marvin Samuel and Jonathan Drew had a kiosk in the World Trade Center. There are people that bash, argument's sake, the acid line. At the time, look at who was smoking cigars, guys me and Andy's age. If that generation dies out, the next generation wasn't smoking cigars because they looked at it as something my father does. I say this all the time, and I get in a big argument over this. Drew states safe cigar smoking as we know it, and I'll explain. He looked at the demographic, 18 to 36-year-olds. Who in that line is smoking cigars? At the time, it was nobody. My generation goes, kind of generation comes up, and they're smoking hookah, and vaping was just becoming popular, and flavored cigarettes and stuff. You're like, how do I get them to smoke? They're smoking hookah. I'm going to give them something that's like hookah. But I'm going to put premium blend underneath that. They're going to be smoking premium stuff, really good stuff, but it's this. So now you grab women and you grab 18 to 36-year-olds. Where are they going from that? So if I take a pipe smoker in here and says, hey, I know you like to smoke pipes, but have you ever tried this? It has pipe tobacco. It's that same transition. Now I'm getting another demographic of people into cigars. Just like Drew Estate said, people bash the acid line. If you got 18 to 36-year-olds who came up, you have women. Because now I could sit somewhere and smoke, and people like, you're going to smoke a cigar, and then they smell it. They're like, oh my Lord, that smells good. Sit here. Sit here. I mean, before you know it, they're like, what is that? And then the younger guys are like, man, that smells like hookah. What is that? Well, it's a cigar. No. Really? Yeah. And then you're like, here, try it.
I'd be fine with it. My great grandfather smoked a pipe, and I could never see myself turning him away at the door. I think that would just be a pretty bad move on my part. That just seems pretty bad to me. And pipes tend to be very aromatic, the scent. Yes, it could interfere with some cigar smoking because it's a very you need all your senses for it. But I'd be absolutely fine with it if they got like a water at the bar. Absolutely.
So, and just so we're clear, Zach and I both smoke pipes. And we've talked about etiquette repeatedly in this conversation. So I'll say this comment and one last question for you guys. If the commodity is not actively sold on the premises, is where that question actually stems from. Because you don't sell pipes or pipe tobacco.
No.
And you're having to clean up a product that you don't sell.
Right.
You didn't make money on that product. And pipes can be very, very messy.
What's unique to this area, if you boys don't know, I'll give you a little education. This is a huge pipe community. Calabash has its own pipe club.
Okay.
It's very prevalent. They spend a lot of money. Now, there's another lounge in South Carolina that has pipes, and the pipe club usually meets there. Even though it's a cigar lounge, it was a pipe tobacco place first that developed into also cigars. They actually have a place they can go. Very rarely where they come here, they have their own club. They don't like cigar smoking involved in their pipes anyway. So they really don't want that because now it takes away from their experience. So for us, it's not really, if one gentleman came in and he was just like, I love it, and the place is empty and you want to smoke your cigar, we're not going to turn you away. By all means, go ahead, sit. But they have their own thing here. And they very rarely like venture in because they don't want to be part of this. This takes away from their experience.
Mhm.
But to say I'm going to turn away one or two people, listen, I may turn away 15 or 20. You may say, boys, we have an outside, it's beautiful out. Can you just do me a favor? We'll serve you drinks outside. I mean, look, if the place empties out and there's nobody here, by all means. But yeah, that's a good point.
Go into the cleanup. Fridays, we get a huge group of guys. We get maybe 10 to 15 guys outside. It's one big friend group. They meet up every Friday. Now, there are 2 or 3 in the group that don't smoke cigars. They smoke cigarettes. But those same 2 to 3 individuals will always come in and get 3 to 4 beers. They smoke it outside. And they smoke their cigarettes outside, and as long as they keep the cigarettes in the ashtray, they keep the kind of outdoorsy area clean, I have no problem when it comes time to collect the ashtrays from outside, running water over it, dumping it, as long as, because I don't want to turn them away, because that turns the entire friend group away. I don't want to alienate 2 or 3 people to
But
alienate.
it goes deeper than that, though, too, because my thing is, for me to keep it as a den, what I said earlier is, I don't care what you do for a living, you don't know what's going on in that person's life. And the fact that that big group meets, I've heard some of what they talk about sometimes, and it goes back to my point. Paulie said it best, things that they may not feel like they can talk to at home, or maybe get stigmatized by saying it to somebody else, they can do it here. And that is the big thing.
Yeah.
We haven't, the reason people don't smoke cigarettes in here and vape, because anybody that smokes cigars or pipes know that that is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
But it's like Paulie said, you guys have seen outside, we have the beautiful oak trees, we have everything out there, and we haven't even had an issue. No one has thrown a hissy fit because, oh my God, I can't smoke a cigarette in here. And that just goes back to the community and the stakeholders we have. We've been very blessed.
I mean, to say I don't want a pipe person in here smoking, but if they smoke a Fat Bottom Betty,
Yeah.
like what am I doing? Listen, like I said, they have their own community. They don't want actually to be in our company. And it's not because I don't want to be around cigar smokers. It takes away from their experience. And so, but to say we're going to turn a person away, listen, if you want to smoke a pipe, you can sit outside, you can come in here. If it's empty, Andy's not going to turn you away, have a seat. Because eventually that could be a potential cigar smoker. Why turn him away?
And see, everyone's been super respectful about it too. If your intent is to smoke a cigarette, they'll always come up. If they're a new person, they have not familiar with the lounge, they'll always either ask myself or my dad, like, "Hey, do you allow cigarette smoking in here?" No, but feel free to smoke it outside in the courtyard.
And not one person has, because I think they know the answer already, but they're just hoping for the, oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
you know. But
So we've all been to several cigar lounges in our smoking time. Years of it, decades of it. Final question, because we've talked about the etiquette in this conversation several times. We've touched on it over and over again. I'm going to start with the young guy over there. Cigar lounge etiquette. Is it declining, or is it at least maintaining what the lounge is intended for?
From what I've seen, it is maintaining. I've yet to go into a lounge, like a true cigar lounge, and see just gross misuse of the etiquette, things you'd look at and think, what, these people are crazy, what are they doing here? I like to think it's maintaining, because I think it is the older generation passing it on. Because it's not like a huge book. It's not a huge laundry list of things you have to know, have to understand. It's just key points that diverge into other small things that keep it alive. And I see a lot of the old generation passing on to, say, someone my age. And I am now stewarding that with, say, my friend group, getting them to smoke cigars, people my age, people younger than me, trying to pass it on and keep that torch going. So I think it's maintaining.
I'll say maintaining, and I have a funny story. We had some mid-20s come in. They wanted to try cigars. That was great. There was 3 of them. They bought a cigar. We thought it was only going to be for one of them. Well, they're passing it around, you know, and of course, yeah, you know, but the different generation. And very good friend of mine. Actually, I've known him for years. He was the best man at my wedding. He was in here that day. Next thing I know, I look up and he's hanging out with them. Well, I'm thinking, oh, that's cool. He's welcoming them on board. I get a little closer. He's lecturing them on why you don't do that, how to properly smoke one, how to properly put it out. And, you know, so I think that it's a learning process, but most of the lounges I have frequented, I would say that the culture is strong. And yeah, people still make some minor mistakes sometimes, like rubbing out a cigar instead of letting it burn naturally. But for the most part, I got to go with what Connor said.
I'm going to take a whole different thing. I'm going to say it's growing, and I'm going to tell you why I say that. Men want to be, like I said earlier, a part of something. It's a culture. It's a vibe. It's something that men can enjoy. I want to be a part of that. So how do I be a part of that? Right? So I think it's growing. You look at every walk of life. You look at some of the lounges now are swanky. I travel a lot. I go to Florida, down in Jacksonville. The lounges now, it's music. You have to be dressed. You create the culture you want, and people will come and they will respect. Listen, your mother used to say, when you go to so-and-so's house, don't have that hat on, right? There's rules. But I think it's growing because people look at the culture like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Look at them guys. You know, they're having a good time. So when they walk in, they're like, man, the vibe here, you know, I'd love to be a part of that. So in that, they learn the etiquette because they see it, they watch you, pay attention.
Exactly.
And before you know it, you're a part of it. It grows. And what I mean by growing is social media helps it a lot. But it's walking into a place and a guy who's just like, I don't really smoke with anybody, I don't have too many friends. I can walk in that lounge and now you're a part of something. So you want to grow into that culture. I think it's growing. We're grabbing the boutique. Now that you have a lot of boutique stuff, you have the older generation going back to that. You have the new guys, and guys come in and they're like, "Wow, this is a vibe. This brings me back to, man. This brings me back to when my father smoked." And I want to be a part. I think it is growing because it's something somebody could put their name to and get attached to.
And the OGs like it when young guys come in here because they love to share.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in other lounges. And that's what makes, at least from my perspective, that it has maintained, and it's something that people like to teach and educate, and they love to talk about it, and they'll pass it on to anybody.
Yeah. I think it's a growing culture. Cigar smoking it's probably, we're probably in the biggest boom since the 90s in cigar smoking. It's no longer just those 4, 5, 6 maybe original, like the NHL, the original teams. It's way more than that now. It's a culture, right? It's guys you have guys making their own boxes at humidors. It's now getting into alcohol and creating a culture where not only is it cigars, it's this and it's that. And what happens is you gravitate toward what it is that excites you. And listen, Andy's a perfect example. He built it. We have so many different age groups in here. And the younger guys come in and they sit here and they listen, and they're so appreciative, like, hey, thank you. I get it now. I'm starting to get this whole thing I've been dying. And now they feel a part of something. They could come in and be in a community of men as a younger man like Connor and be like, yeah, I kind of fit in here. This here is, I do have a voice. As I'm not just in my garage by myself. You're a part of something. It's a culture. And if you treat it like that and you give it, they're going to come. You know, we want more. Look at how this here right now is a perfect example of that. You know, if you said 20 years ago to be podcasts on cigars, people would have said, you're smoking crack, you're crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Look, when Foch and Mazzola started that whole thing of just going on talking about cigars, do you know how many people just listen to what they have to say? That perfect drink to have with it, how it looks, how you're perceived. You know, you're not just it's an elegant thing. Women have their thing, men have theirs. This is ours, and it just plays into that.
And what's exciting is the fact that you do have, as we mentioned before, so many new up and comers, and people don't. A lot of the old timers think you can only pair a cigar with bourbon. Well, we serve wine here. We can pair it with wines. We have a great root beer that we sell that you can pair cigars with that. We have sodas. I mean, it's just, I feel like we're going into another great renaissance because of what people are beginning to do. Because like anything, it can become stagnant, but cigars seem to reinvent themselves. And there's things you can do with them, and there's things that people don't realize you can do with them. It's like the root beer. I've got 2 or 3 guys now that will smoke a cigar with root beer and pair it and find an all new experience. So yeah, it's just exciting to be part of it
Sure
now.
it is.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
look at the old time lounges. Like if you go into Barclay Rex and you sit there and you think, how many men have sat in these chairs? Some of the who's who have sat in these chairs. And you go uptown to the Monte Cristo Lounge and know that Jack Nicholson sat in that one chair every time he was in New York. Every time he would sit there, and you could walk into some lounges and sit there, and somebody famous could come in and nobody would even blink an eye that he was there. And then you see and you're like, wow, you know, so and so sat here, so and so smoked here.
Even in this lounge, we have combat fighter aces in here. We have a fellow that comes in here that was the quarterback for the 1967 or 68 Rutgers football team. That's what's amazing about lounges. Like Paulie said, you just don't know.
Yep.
You know, and it still excites me because I hear crazy stuff and I'm listening and I'm like, you did that? Or you were part of that?
Yeah, and even what you guys do, right? So you have somebody who's doing, he listens to your podcast and he's listening. And all these things are like, wow, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So there's that education part that you're bringing to the forefront. You're giving the person that's kind of just looking at it from afar and say, wow, how do I become a part of that? How do I become a part of that culture? And by you doing this and bringing it to the forefront and speaking to people, I guarantee you, if you do 1,000 podcasts, if you could sit down at the end of your 1,000 podcasts, to sit down and say to yourself, you and Zach, let's try to narrow down to the one thing out of all these podcasts that had in common. What's the one thing? And I guarantee if you narrowed it down, they come down to these certain things: camaraderie, right? Fellowship, right? Heritage, history, the thing behind it, the gentleman thing. I guarantee you, you could do 1,000 podcasts, 5,000 different topics, and at the end of the day, what do they all have in common? Figure it out, write it on paper, and you'll come down to this many. And that, in essence, boys, is what cigar smoking is.
Paulie's about to start a fellowship group here.
Yeah, on Wednesday nights, we're going to start.
And it's amazing how many people have said, you know what? I want to be a part of that. It's just a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah. And to your point about mental health, you'll have guys that know they need something further, so they're like, I really do want to go to church, but man, I'm afraid. I can't walk in there. You know what I've done? I can't walk in there. And I don't know anything about the Bible. How can I go in there and even talk? But if you do a small thing and the guys are sitting there, you don't have to talk. What do we all have in common? This.
Yep.
And then you sit there and you start talking, and before you know it, a guy will just, who never talks, will just, you mind if I share some? Brother, that's what we're here for.
And that's
I guarantee you there's somebody sitting here, Andy's probably gone through something that he could say to that young man, bro, I did that. I'm here now. It's all right. You know, and you could just, and it's a way to just open it up, like it's another way to break the ice into something better. We want to better you. And if it's through this, that's fine. It's an icebreaker.
It's legacy.
Yeah.
And that's what we're building here. Legacy.
Exactly.
And that's awesome. And on that note, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, before you go, keep talking. We have something for you guys.
Yes.
Okay. Stay put. Stay put. I'll be right back.
Well, it has been an honor, again, and a pleasure to get to learn more about you all as individuals, but what makes Patriot Cigars so special for this community. And that's one of the big reasons that when Zach and I started talking about it, and quite honestly, you know, Paulie, you were kind of the linchpin of that, knowing that you worked here. And when you and I, again, we go back to the social media and how we connected.
Right.
And then we connected with Patriot Cigars. And then we came down to Patriot Cigars.
Right.
And then now we're going to be like, hey, this is absolutely something that needs to be captured and shared with a platform. Again, are Zach and I creating a YouTube channel that is completely 100% one-off of one? No, we're not. But at the end of the day, there is exponentially more stories to be told than there's ever going to be podcasts to tell them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been a pleasure and honor, and we cannot thank you enough for sharing your time in your lounge and allowing us to record your stories. And again, we could probably go on for hours. You know?
We could talk cigars for hours.
We are so thankful and blessed that you guys allowed us to come in and bring our project inside your lounge. Can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Well, when we heard you guys were coming down, and you guys do a great service to the industry, Paulie put this together. We got together and said we definitely wanted you guys to have one. Hopefully you'll put this up somewhere at some point, just as a nice.
That's pretty much everything we have in here that we've smoked or it's come through this humidor.
Yep. So we're hoping that it's little, guys. It's nothing big, but it's just our way of saying thank you for doing such a great job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's definitely going to be, we're going to put that at the Smoking Standard headquarters and
going in the studio.
Yeah, going in the studio. And again, this token again is a representation of everything we talked about. So now we have a piece of this brotherhood that you've created at Patriot Cigars that we could take back to Southern Pines and put it in our headquarters, and it's going to be there in perpetuity as long as we do podcasts.
And now that you guys are here, right, you can see the family. So when we have people here that say, hey, I got to kind of go to Southern Pines in my business. Hey, you're going to Southern Pines? Well, we have family there. I want you to go see Zach. I want you to go see Steve. I want you, this is where they free you to go there. Introduce yourself. Tell them where you're from. Their family, you're going to get treated just as if you were here. That's what you want to create. You want to say, hey, go up here. You're going to be treated like family. Go up there. That's where you need to, and you patronize, and that's what you do. Yeah. And everybody does for everybody else, because what are we all here for? To enjoy cigars and to smoke. And you know what? What does it hurt me to say, you know what? I don't have that cigar here. I wish I did, but you know, go see so-and-so, tell them I sent you. It doesn't hurt you.
No.
And look, it's even like in cigar smoking. Sometimes you have new people that come in and they're smoking and they stay for a couple of cigars and you're like, you know what, boys, do me a favor, try this. And don't worry about paying, just go ahead. That's on me, thank you. And for some guy, listen, it's like women. If women think, I'm going to get a pair of shoelaces with that shoes, oh, I got a bargain. Sometimes you give a cigar to a guy, just, you know, boys, here, that's on me. Just enjoy yourself. We're glad that you picked us to patronize here that day.
Yep.
That $6 cigar at the end of the day don't hurt you. You just got a guy now that's going to come in here and say, boys, I know the place to go. This guy is fantastic. That $6 just made you $50 or $60.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Before we close out, I don't know if you guys know him, but I do want to say that the cigar industry lost a great guy recently, Mark from Esteban Carreras.
Mm-hmm.
He was our sales rep, but he was also vice president of sales.
Mhm.
He had a medical emergency while he was out on the road doing what he loved to do, promote the brand, promote cigars. He passed away, and this is, if you knew him, you knew what a voice he was when it came to his love and passion of cigars, and he will definitely be missed.
Yeah, I agree.
And he'll be missed here also.
Mhm.
So this is just letting Esteban Carreras know that we really appreciated them having Mark, and he will greatly be missed.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So
So what's coming up for you guys for the rest of this year? Anything you want to push out?
Oh, absolutely. We will be having an AJ Fernandez event here in October. We'll, yep, we have live jazz. We'll have food, of course. It's a big time event. We just do 2 a year. That will be October 2nd. And if you follow our Facebook, and to do that, just type in Patriot Cigars Calabash, North Carolina. You'll get the you'll start to see the updates. And then we will also in December partner with Crow Creek again to do another great dinner, and where we have great bourbon pairings. Usually a distiller's there on hand. We had a great putting contest. The winner actually sank a 60-foot putt. But it's a lot of fun, and the component is it's not just about having fun and fellowship. We also really promote Cigars for Warriors, but keep up with us on Patriot Cigars Calabash, North Carolina, because we only do the 4 events a year, 2 here and 2 with our partnership with Crow Creek Golf Course. And if you guys want to come out for a great day, great cigars, great jazz, this is a place you need to be. But I would further say this, if you're in the area, pop in, have a smoke with us, relax, and tell some lies that you believe.
And Connor, can that be through Instagram as well?
Instagram as well. We'll be posting stuff there as soon as we, because it's a big planning on our part. We do 2 a year, and we put months of preparation into it. And so as we're building up for it, you'll definitely see some stuff on Instagram, Patriot Cigars, Beer and Wine. Find us on Instagram.
And technically it's an in-store event, but we take over the courtyard, we take over in here. It's a lot of fun. Paulie's been to every one. You'll meet Uncle Paulie 66. And dude, if you want to come talk about cigars, I don't think Paulie's ever met a cigar that he did not know who actually rolled it.
That's awesome. So we thank you all again for
Thank you.
having us at Patriot Cigars. We also thank all of our viewers out there to continue to support us. Again, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share with people that you feel our content is going to have value and they're going to enjoy it. You can find the Smoking Standard on Instagram. Our YouTube channel is the Smoking Standard. Zach and I also have Instagram accounts, the Smoking Standard Zach and the Smoking Standard Steve. Please leave comments again. It helps us grow. We love doing this. We love meeting people like Andy and Connor And Paul, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again on the next episode of The Smoking Standard.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for this, too.
Keep doing
I
the great
appreciate
work.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap. There you guys go. Your first podcast.
Outstanding. How did we do comparatively?
Amazing.